Hello, everybody. I'm Mike the Man. You may have seen some of my videos. My videos have been up since 2009 and mostly are about the Rh negative blood factor. Even though I have also explored a few other topics that are of interest to me. The first thing I want to do is welcome you, Rh negative people, because to you this message is addressed. For many, many centuries, Rh negative people have suffered all over the world, primarily in the Middle Ages, but throughout history in various nations, maybe not in Ireland or Basque Country where Rh negative blood is quite common. Australia seems to be another one. And the vibe of a nation is often very driven by the percentage of Rh negative people. When I look at Brazil, Australia, etc. See, I used to be in the tourism business. I used to run a hostel, and I'm just gonna say it like it is. People ask me, "Who are your favorite guests? What country are they from?" Brazil and Australia came to my mind very, very quickly. There is something about the energy, the vibe, that just gets me, and that just brings very positive energy there. It's something about the way people interact with each other. And let's face it, the Rh negative people may be in the minority, but what we're also talking about is the impact that Rh negative people make on the society that they live in. And we do. Same way Rh positive people impact us, we impact Rh positive people. And this impact is very, very, very strong in terms of us seemingly being a driving force in many, many ways. A driving force in terms of creative ideas, a constant desire to change things to where society and the life that surrounds us becomes intuitively acceptable, if you will. Because we don't like it when we have to live by rules that are made up for people who are of a state of mind that is not ours. I believe that we actually are very empathetic and we have a global outlook. It means we don't only make decisions based on what we need right now, but also what works long term in the communities in which we are located. Now, some of you have attacked me and said this sounds very, very supremacist. And for me, see, I need to remind you that we are the minority. And we have always been in a position where we needed to adapt to the Rh positive world around us. That is often very harsh and very driven by mass movements where somebody makes the decisions and the rest just follows. So what we do, I don't attack people individually or criticize, but there are certain patterns that I am very, very unsatisfied with, that I observe in the human behavior. And I believe this can also stem from our origin, because throughout history and prehistory, it has been the case that those who had the offspring were the ones who outnumbered those who didn't. Let me give you an example. The Neanderthals, we don't know what their blood types were in terms of the Rh factor. Even though I have once posted on racistnegative.net study of two specimens. The Neanderthals were pretty peaceful and pretty isolated from each other. Maybe 1,000 tribes all over Europe, 30 of them in each of the tribes. That's a pretty good number, where they were able to sustain their way of life, and they had a high cranial capacity. It means that they could have been actually more evolved. Um, Maybe a higher abilities or higher genetic predisposition. You see, the mistake that's being made is that the media has basically told us they were stupid, but their learning potential may have been above ours. Their cranial capacity was actually higher than that of modern humans today, because we are a mix of the Neanderthals, and in Asia it would be the Denisovans, and then the modern humans that arrived later. And the modern humans that arrived later, they arrived in large groups, very, very large groups. And it was probably a lot of single men that were moving and wandered, looking for food, looking for women, whatever you have it. And they came across these Neanderthal settlements, and what they did was kill all the male offspring and sometimes eat them, but they took the females, and the females would carry their babies. And you had something similar with the Proto-Basque people, who had a peaceful society, but later all of the Y-DNA, most of the Y-DNA was replaced, which indicates that they were killed off, the men were killed off, and the women were taken. So what are we? We are a product of, in part, a society that simply worked. A society that was self-sufficient, where people were creative, where they figured out how to do things, how to make things happen. And their lives were sustainable. But a part of our history has been murdered off and replaced by those who came over without a clue other than I want. Not really a desire to stay put and make things better where they are, but rather go somewhere else and see what we can find. So these two natures that are in us are partially the productive ones, but then also the history of the winner. And the winner in this case are the people who came together, who had large numbers, against which the intruded couldn't defend themselves. And they simply didn't expect an enemy coming out of nowhere, because for generations they have lived in the same region and learned how to make the best out of their lives. And suddenly there were hundreds or thousands of warriors coming along and just killed them off. They were outnumbered. So when we talk about evolution, there are different levels that we need to talk about. Survival of the fittest. Who has the offspring? Well, in this case, the offspring was, who had the offspring were the ones that came together in large numbers. And in today's society, it still matters who are your friends, who your friends are. You know what I mean? It's not what you know, it's not what you're able to do, but who unite yourself with. This is something that teaches us that protection is very important. Being not only creating but protecting what we create. being humble about it, not showing off what we have, because it attracts the wrong people. It attracts jealousness. It attracts theft from us on all levels. When you have good energy, very positive energy, you see, a lot of people are afraid to express positive energy because, or partially positive energy, because it can attract those who want it, and those who, whenever you read something about women being stalked and then murdered, I'm always wondering, what are their blood types? Are many of them A negative by chance? Because I think O negatives, they are they protect themselves very, very well. I think us A negatives are very, very out in the open. I think it's a natural predisposition we have that we want to be out there, because we kind of observe. Not only it's not only from our own intuition, but we watch what works and what doesn't. And I believe many of us have something to say in terms of what kind of how to clear up confusion about why certain things work out in life, why other things do not. I think it's very, very important that we are listened to. And I believe that many authors, Stephen King, for example, but I mean, he's in his own level, but he's actually blood type A negative. Not surprised either, but he's not a good example, by the way. But a lot of people, I would say probably a lot of authors, actually authors that I have met online, well, one is B negative, but many are A negative. And I think it just has to do with a desire to express yourself that comes first. Sure, once you do that, you realize, oh, this works. Maybe I should do more of that. Maybe I should do this for a living. Maybe I can be successful. You see, there's the stage, of course, from self-gratification to where you get the approval and your life becomes better because of your work, and then you adjust into it. But I think that we are very good at observing, but also the same way we observe good energy, attract good energy and observe negative patterns in society, we also are in need of protecting ourselves from it. And I know that I love my time alone, where I don't have to think about other people. I think that's the hardest thing, when you have to think, when your mind is full of other people. I think that's a very, very dangerous situation to be in. So I'm interested in knowing from you guys who are blood type A negative, and all of you are Rh negative people, by the way. If you're O negative, A negative, B negative, or AB negative. AB negative, what is your nature? Do you identify more with the A negative or more the B negative traits? Because you are a mix of both. You are able to switch back and forth. And B negatives are very goal oriented, often missing what's going on the sidelines. But that is an advantage and can be a disadvantage. So when I'm making these videos, what I'm doing, I'm basically interested in showing all of us what our predispositions are, what the advantages and disadvantages are, what we can do with that knowledge to avoid going down the wrong paths that we have been down, and also staying on a path that is right, that may not always seem right, but that leads towards the places we will feel more comfortable in, most comfortable in. Thank you guys for watching. I'm Mike the Man. My website is racistnegative.net and firetown.com.